culture of fly fishing is, you can't really define it in one sentence or one thought. It's become incredibly broad and global and encompasses people from everywhere. As a fly shop manager, I see it with customers from all over the world and from all different walks of life, from different levels of kind of age groups. And yeah, it's a really all-encompassing, fun, passionate kind of hobby that grabs people and gathers them together in a small community of fly fishing. I'm Ryan Heitz, manager of Michael & Young Fly Shop. Been in the fly fishing industry for most of my life, most of my adult life anyway. And yeah, I've been running Michael & Young Fly Shop out of British Columbia for 25 years I've been there. Culture is kind of an all-encompassing word, and there's a lot of kind of microcultures or even macrocultures in fly fishing. It's global now. It's bringing people together from all over the place, whether it's through relationships in the fly shop and importing and exporting and suppliers, or clients that are traveling all over the world, or getting to go on adventures and meeting people and guides in other countries from countries that are just little pinpricks on the map, and they're all loving fly fishing and fish and the outdoors, and it's kind of this all-encompassing thing. It's pretty amazing how many different types of people, don't want to stereotype everybody, but from all walks of life, from all careers, from all countries, it kind of, fly fishing brings us all together under, well, one label, sort of, but we do it all in different ways, in different places, and find joy and happiness in it, and kind of, we have different values that are built into the fly fishing and the fly fishing culture that we each experience. An enduring element of fly fishing. Well, I think there's a lot more than just one enduring element of fly fishing. There's the connection to nature and conservation and the environment, wildlife, and kind of just having is the thing that draws me to it, and that I think draws generations of people outside. I mean, I don't know if just the act of fly casting gets everyone excited, but it's the places that this kind of pursuit of fly fishing and getting, I don't know, better at something that's a little bit challenging for all when they start, and it takes you to a lot of different places if you let it. Like I'm traveling to Cuba for my first time doing a liveaboard boat in a few weeks, and I've got a group of guys heading with me that some of them I know well and some of them I've never met before, and by the end we'll all have this little small brotherhood of fishing friends. We've got financial investors and real estate agents and fly shop dudes like me. One guy that's turning 40 and just managed to convince his wife to let him put 10 grand into his dream trip, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So you see people from everywhere, and the excitement level that these guys come to this opportunity to go somewhere new, and kind of new fish and new places. It's just, I don't know. It's a lot of fun. Well, fun's the wrong word. It brings joy. It brings joy to me to see the joy it brings to others.
So that would be like an element of it is happiness and joy?
Yeah, happiness and joy, and like that, a lot of people find that zen's the wrong word, but peace almost in it. They find a way to stay calm and to ground themselves.
So over the years, what's the biggest change in materials that you've seen?
Materials, like in the just raw fly tank materials?
Yeah, like, going from more from naturals to synthetics? You
Uh,
find it going back?
Um, no, there's still a lot of people that do both. There's guys that are strictly synthetic. There's guys that are strictly natural. Um, but the availability of a lot of the natural products is getting harder and harder and harder. Like furs and feathers, getting them across borders is there's a lot of product that we use regularly in fly tying, like peacock, that you have to find local sources. You can't import from through, like I'm in Canada, and I can't import from the US without, well, actually, peacock I can't import at all. Any wild fur or bird, I have to buy permits to bring in across the country, or across the border. It's like almost 200, well, it's 180 US, I think. Just to bring in teal and duck and pheasant. So it's harder to get a lot of product. That's why the pricing on some of the products is so high. That's why a lot of people move to synthetic, because it's fairly easy to find. I do see a change a bit in the flies we fish, especially in Stillwater. A lot of people are fishing boobies and blobs and bright patterns, more attractor patterns, where I grew up in the era of just trying to match the hatch and keep it small and subtle, and there's a lot of different ways to be very successful as an angler. There's not one right method or one right fly. Hopefully this is the right fly. And then rods, I was actually having a conversation with a gentleman that was taking a refresher on double hauls the other day about rods and how the industry's constantly trying to kind of make them better, make them, I don't know, lighter, faster, stronger, more durable. But the old rods still cast the fly lines just as far as the new rods. Are they really that much better? I think it's just, I don't know, trying to one-up competition a lot, trying to bring new product in just to create excitement in the market and create excitement in clients that are brand loyal. And the pricing of all that new stuff is going up a lot. Sometimes I wonder if that's just companies growing and having too many payrolls. A lot of it is product and shipping, but to go from, there's a rod in the market right now that's gone up 30% in the last 3 years, and it hasn't changed. It's the exact same rod, just the raw US retail cost. And it's, well, what's changed? I don't know, maybe minimum wage, maybe it wasn't economical before and they weren't making enough money, so they had to raise the price. The other thing that's really noticeable in the fly fishing industry as a specialty retailer is every brand out there has many, many more SKUs than they used to. So it's not just a couple high-end rods, a mid-range and a low range as far as price point goes. Now there's all these specialized and specific. There's bass rods and fast rods and slow rods and presentation rods and check nymphing rods, and then switch rods and trout spay rods. And there's, to try and stock it all is economically impossible almost, but I think we do a pretty good job, Michael and Young. But there's a ton of selection, so there's a ton of choice for your consumers and for us as users.
Like, how have prices affected brand loyalty? Or have they?
I don't think the prices per se have affected brand loyalty. Changes in the way warranties and repairs and sort of price points and user fees has definitely affected some of brand loyalty, and it's happened. Most of the brands, it's expensive to rebuild parts and it's time consuming to rebuild parts. And so you see a few consumers switching to product that has parts available or that they can just get quickly, because it's about convenience for most of us. We don't want to have our $1,100 or $1,300 fly rod break and then have to be without it for 3 months. But that's, you've got so many fishermen out there and rods and reels and lines on the market. When a rod breaks, there's not just one going back to a company a day. There's some cases 100 going back to a company in a day. So it takes a long time to get it rebuilt and back into your hands. So that's affected loyalty a little bit because people are used to getting things quickly and cheaply. The free warranty that kind of ruled the fly fishing world back in the 90s was never really free, but it was very inexpensive and it was very quick. But that's not really the case anymore. And then the availability and brand recognition, like the world of the internet and social media has made the fly fishing world kind of explode, and the availability of products, high-end products from all over the place. People are curious what's out there. So it used to be kind of Pacific Northwest, whatever you could hear. I grew up and it was Loomis and Sage because they're local. They're a few hours south of us. They had magazine articles, but now you get into fly fishing on Instagram, or you start doing things on Facebook, and you're seeing brands from all over the world, mostly all over North America for us, but and the access to them is a lot easier than it used to be. So we carry brands from like Thomas & Thomas and Winston and Scott, and they all make incredible fly rods. And so people find one they really like, and then because they really like it, they'll buy another one. And then they kind of, it's very spread out, where it used to be mostly Sage and Loomis, and with the other companies kind of just on the fringe. And I think a lot of that has to do with, well, it's advertising, and kind of we associate things with what we hear. That's why we have commercials on TV.
So now, one of the reasons that you're part of this series is because you have been in, I mean, a lot of people have, but you have been in the industry from the shop management side and behind the counter dealing with people for a long time.
Yeah.
Can you maybe talk us through some of the biggest things you've noticed changing in the industry from when you started till now?
Big changes in the industry. I think the most noticeable thing for me is there's not really a consistent cycle. There's not one aspect of fly fishing, whether it's steelhead fly fishing or stillwater fly fishing or spey fishing or float tubes, that keeps coming back. So my sales cycle and my inventory and being able to purchase and know what to sell, it changes all the time. So when I started, huge volume, it was kind of right at the end of the float tube craze. We were selling, I don't know, in that prime time, kind of April through end of September, there was a couple float tubes a week going out the door. And before I started at the shop, there was even more than that. Like, that was their prime focus almost. It was force fins and float tubes and neoprene waders and 5 weights and 6 weights. And then we are now in our locations very well recognized in the spey community. So we have staff, including myself, that have been spey casting for 20 plus years, 30 plus years in some cases. And that kind of community and fishery for us has grown our business a ton. One of the greatest things about working at a fly shop and about being here long term and is being able to build relationships within my kind of customer base. And when those people come in, they're coming into a store to kind of feed their passion, feed something that excites them, that they're very enthusiastic about. So they're usually coming in here with a positive attitude and a lot of kind of excitement and energy. And it just creates some great conversations and lots of good stories. Culture of fly fishing is an incredibly diverse and broad and dynamic. It's gone global, and I think the world of internet has made it even easier to access globally, and for us to see how much it influences different countries and different people around the world. Of like art, community, social networking, like that's all part of culture. So it's like, well, do you pick a point of it? Because you could just elaborate on one aspect of.
Like the art of fly fishing
Yeah.
part of the culture?
Yeah.
Or like
Or-
the people that tend to come to it? Which one do you pick, right?
And that's, which do you pick?
Which one do
You should be recording now, probably.
I
But
already am.
okay, that's good.
As soon as you stick your arms up in the air, I hit
Yeah.
record.
Awesome. So and you get people from everywhere and every walk of life. There's philosophy professors and artists. There's musicians. There's guys that grew up with their dads doing it. There's guys that picked it up in their 50s. I've been teaching casting for maybe 4 or 5 times in the last 2 weeks, and I've got guys that have been doing it their whole lives but never learned how to cast because they just troll and they want to try and get better. And I've got guys that have never touched a fly rod but want to learn, and it's bringing people from everywhere. I had an immunologist that works in Vancouver to I had a guy that's just like a regular Joe Blow construction guy and they love it kind of, and they're doing the same thing in the end. They're in a boat floating around catching fish on a fly rod, but they're from all different places of the world and all walks of life. So culture, and then when we're getting into steelheading, we get into this sort of history of steelheading and the history of fly tying and almost the romance, for lack of a better word, of kind of the culture as it used to be and where it's evolving. And we've all have heroes or idols, people that kind of we watched fish as we were kind of growing up, or we heard about, like Roderick Hay Brown, or like a lot of us now gravitate towards guys that are, I'm no longer the young guy in the room. I'm kind of in the middle. And so I've got friends and people in the industry. You've got like Art Lindgren locally that's been in it forever that writes a lot. You've got guys like Deck Hogan that have guided and fished and written literature. Phil Rowley, and locally Brian Chan he's been kind of almost hero is not really the right word, but he's done so much for British Columbia's stillwater fisheries because that was his job as a biologist for years, and he absolutely loves fishing and he loves teaching fishing and he's good at it, so everyone kind of knows his name. The relationships and the kind of community you build around fly fishing that's part of what culture is.